Your website is a business asset. How many times have you seen where a company will build a website and then they forget all about it and it just sits there, languishes? It doesn't do anything for them. It's not effective. That's because they didn't maintain it. They don't keep it updated. They don't work on it. They don't look at it as the business asset that it is. So just like plant, equipment, vehicles, whatever you have, your website needs to be treated like a business asset because it is. It is the number one channel for you to connect with your customers. If you invest in your website, it will pay off dividends in the long run. So even though the economy right now is a little iffy and nobody really knows what's going on or what's going to be going on in the next few months, you can be guaranteed that your website will be working for you or not. So you need to make sure you make those investments because relatively small investments can pay off big. I had a discussion one time with a very large brand about TV advertising versus investing in content on their website. I said, for $100,000, I can make your website hum and bring in more customers than you can through your television commercials. And of course, they didn't believe me, but it's true. If you have good content and you make your website connect with your customers, you can bring them in and have your brand be top of mind as they go through their decision-making process to do a purchase. The search engines are trying to get information to their users in one click or less. So we were talking about alkaline this morning, so I had pulled a little Tiger info off the web, but you can see if I just type in Detroit Tigers into Google or Bing, I get all kinds of information. Google gives me scores, it gives me schedules, it points me to their Wikipedia page, it gives me information about it. Bing thinks I might be wanting to buy stuff with Tiger logos on it, which is great. They also give me scores and they give me information about the team. I don't have to click on anything to get any of this info. It's right there in front of me, but I can click through. So you have to think about this. If your customers are looking for information about your brand, you can position your website to get some nice no-click results like this. But the other thing is, if they do click on your website, what are they going to see when they get there? Are they getting the information that they're looking for? Or are you just talking about yourself and spieling about what a great brand you are? Right? That's not going to be very effective. Branding is one of the things that really holds websites back. Now, when I'm talking about listen, I'm not a branding person. I'm a website optimizer. I know just enough about branding to be dangerous, but I know it's important. It's like my friend didn't have a computer, knew websites were important, right? I understand that. But a lot of times I think that we carry branding a little bit too far when it comes to our websites because we're more focused on the brand than we are about the information and how the website actually functions. I see a lot of design aspects that really cause a poor performance. They look really cool, but they really mess up the experience. They're not getting the information to the customers, and so they're not resonating properly. The thing is, Google and Bing have tons and tons and tons of data that show that poor experiences lead people to bounce off of websites. So guess what? They don't show those websites in their search results as prominently. And of course, if you're not showing up in Google or Bing as much as you could, you're getting less traffic. And less traffic equals less business. So it's very important that you take that human-centered approach to your website design and the content on your website in order to help make that connection so that you can earn, and I say earn, I'm not talking about paid search here, I'm talking about unpaid search. You can buy traffic all day. That's not always sustainable, right? I like to get the people there for free. Now, kind of, you got to invest in it, but it's not as expensive as paying for clicks all the time. Now, how many of you people still browse the web on your desktops? I'm sure most of us do. But Google has noticed that globally, 70% of searches are done on mobile devices. So they switched to what they call a mobile-first index in 2018. What this means is they look at the mobile version of the website first before they ever look at the desktop or tablet versions of your site. That means your desktop version is still important because for some of you, especially B2B customers, that's probably where most of your traffic is. But your mobile version is key because that is what Google and Bing are looking at when they're evaluating your site. So even if most of your traffic is coming in on a desktop, you still need to pay attention. In fact, it's imperative that you pay attention to the mobile version of your website. In fact, a lot of designers have gone to doing mobile first design and then a progressive enhancement to the larger form factors in order to help make that work really well. And Google looks at download times very prominently as well because of this. So there's data by Google that shows that if a website's download time increases from 1 second to 3 seconds, the bounce rate increases by 32%. That's a lot of lost traffic. So you think about that. How fast does it take the average web page to download? I can tell you most of them are way faster, or way slower than 30 seconds. Or 3 seconds, pardon me. Some of them are 30 seconds. I've seen one recently that I looked at that was almost a minute and a half. How many people do you think? Yeah, you're shaking your head. You're freaked out. I was freaked out. I said, how do you get any traffic on this site at all? Who's going to wait for that to download? The answer is very, very few people. If you look at this chart, and this is by Pingdom, that 3 second line is exactly where you start seeing the bounce rate increase substantially and your page views decrease like crazy, right? 3 seconds is the magic number. Now, I would love to get it down to 2 or even 1 if you can, but sometimes that is impossible. Some functionality, it takes a little bit, but 3 seconds is a good rule of thumb to go for, especially when you're looking at a site that's downloading in over a minute. So, things like custom fonts. How many websites have I seen that where, the brand spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on a custom font and then insist that it be put on the website? And, again, I'm not a designer and I'm not a branding guy. That font looks like every other sans serif font I look at. I think if you used Arial, it would probably be okay, but they insist on it. The font on this particular, this is real data from a site called webpagetest.org, which is one of the sites I like to use when I'm evaluating download times. The font on this website alone accounted for 5.3 seconds of download time. So what the heck do you think is going on during that 5.3 seconds? I can tell you, you're not seeing very much on the screen. It's probably blank. It was over 1/3 of the downloaded bytes on that homepage. So you think, is it really worth it? And then think of all the other things that you have to have just to make the web page work. Is that 5 seconds worth it? I don't know. I would say not, because I would imagine the average person isn't going to notice the difference between your custom font and just any other sans serif font that's out there. Do you really need that really zippy autoplay video on the top of your homepage? Oh my goodness, these things are the bane of my existence because they take so long. And they don't offer any value because they take up the entire download screen. Now, some people are smart and they only show that on the desktop version of the display, but I've seen some on mobile, and it's crazy. So this is real data from a website that I was looking at that's modeled from the tool called Conductor, and it shows that there was this huge traffic drop in May of 2017. But what happened on May of 2017? I went and looked at their website right before that using the Internet Wayback Machine and noticed that they had a pretty plain website with nice pictures, but it wasn't fancy, but it had lots of text on it. Text downloads very quickly. In May of 2017, they introduced a gigantic video that was 5 or 6 megabytes, I can't remember. It added so much download time that their traffic started to tank. Google looked at this and, man, this is terrible. This is a bad experience. I'm not going to show this prominently anymore. So all their competitors started showing up higher than them, and they lost all kinds of traffic according to this model. And these models, the numbers aren't exact, but the trending is definitely good. And we see this a lot with videos on websites. It's just not that important. And I get this argument, Elmer, I got to attract their attention and keep their attention when they come to my website. So you need to attract their attention. If they come to your website, you've already got their attention. figure out what they want and give that to them. They don't want to see this cool video, whatever, people flying to the moon or whatever. It doesn't do you any good. It has nothing to do with what the customer is looking for. Another thing is text needs to be text. The search engines are really smart and they can parse apart images pretty well, but they still cannot reliably read text inside of it. So you want to hear a good custom font story. I was working on a website when I was doing in-house SEO with the developer, and the designer that the company had hired said, and it's like I said, I'm not a designer. I really don't care. But I said, all right, listen, this was even before you could get custom fonts for Google. And I said, you have to make your design using just a standard serif or sans serif font because the browser cannot display a font that is not installed on it. And at the time, you couldn't download fancy fonts that take 5.5 seconds. So they said, oh, we got this great idea. We will do JPEGs, and you just embed the JPEG on each page, and then it can look exactly like on YouTube, pixel for pixel. It's beautiful, man. This is going to be amazing. And I'm like, well, how big are these JPEGs going to be? But everybody has broadband now. It's okay. What about mobile use? Oh, and by the way, did you realize that Google and Bing can do really text in those images? So they're not going to be able to index the website. So we're going to lose a whole bunch of traffic? Really? Yes. Even today. And this argument was 10 years ago, but it's still true today. Make sure your text is text. If you have text that's embedded in an image because you have a message that you want to portray, make sure that it is repeated in plain text somewhere on the page near the image. Don't just hide it in the alt text. You know what alt text is. That helps, but it's not great. So let's talk about customers. Something that I've noticed watching how people search is that your customer journeys are rarely linear. Now, if you're selling something like a $5 pair of socks or a pack of pens or something like that, yeah, maybe, decision I need to buy pens goes directly to the shop and click down and buy. But for other things, especially more expensive things, this is not the case. People are empowered with information, and they want that information, and they are going to get that information. And so they're going to go all over the place to try to find their information the way they want to get it. So, I don't know, this was a very popular comic back when the Sunday Funnies were still in print. But it was just showing this little kid who'd get off the bus and go all over the freaking neighborhood before he got home. It looks random and schizophrenic, but it's not. The kid's having fun, and he's doing these things as they capture his attention. That's the way your customer journeys are. Their research starts at that point of need or that point of want and kind of goes around in a seemingly random fashion. So what you need to do is learn to figure out how to earn their attention at every opportunity. And you do that through the content of your website. The other thing about research is that it can take a long time. So I see these two stats. One of them is by Rothstein and Talbot, where it says customers spend 40 to 137 days researching a purchase that costs more than $500. That time of research varies within the comfort level of what somebody thinks is expensive. I saw a study by J.D. Power when I was working in an auto industry setting. It said that consumers spend 13 to 18 weeks researching a new lease or purchase of an automobile. It's a lot of time, folks. So people aren't just now, they're going to come to your website and they might buy something at some point, but those are the people who are at the end of the process. What about the weeks before when they were doing that research? Were you able to earn their attention and connect with them at that point when they were doing the research and making your website useful to them so that your brand and your product was top of mind in their consideration set, so that when it came time to make that purchase, they could do it and come to you. And that's when your conversion optimization stuff starts. You want to make that buying process frictionless and easy. What about that research? Most people ignore that research with their websites. They're so focused on that last bit, the last mile. They're not thinking about the miles and miles before that. So there's a concept called the messy middle, and Google has kind of revived this recently because their data shows that this is absolutely true. Consumers will go and they'll hit that trigger, and then they'll start going through the evolution or evaluation and exploration. And you notice that kind of looks like an infinity sign. I think that's kind of on purpose because it can take forever. But on the other hand, too, it just kind of goes into this cycle. And people go until they finally realize they get to the point of experience where they want to make a purchase. And they finally say, okay, I've got enough information. This is what I'm going to buy. I'm going to go get it. It can take a while. So, the thing that you have to do is understand how to position your website to win in the messy middle. And so I've started talking about a concept that I've named free range marketing. You need to learn what information your customers need to choose to do business with you and help them to find it when they need it through search, through your website. Sometimes you got to buy ads. That's okay. And don't be afraid if they get the information they want and leave. If you make your website useful and helpful and give them a good experience, you just have to trust that they'll come back. And they will, if you treat them right. If you don't, if you make it hard for them to find what they're looking for, it's like, well, you know what? I want to find out how long this SUV is. How hard is it to find the length of an SUV on any of the automakers' websites right now? I dare you to go find it. It's hard to do. They don't make it easy. But I'll tell you what, if you go to cars.com or Edmunds or cars.usa.com, guess what? They've got it right there. They're beating the OEMs on their own data. Doesn't seem to be a great idea to me. You should make your website more useful. So the other argument that I have with a lot of folks is talking about how their website has to mirror their traditional marketing. So again, if the customers have come to your website, you've already earned their attention. You don't need to do that again. You need to figure out what they want and give it to them. So there's a great quote that, and I can't remember who said it. We have to stop interrupting what people are doing and or what they're interested in. Stop interrupting what people are interested in and be what they are interested in. Right? You have to give them the thing that they want and give them the information that they can't get somewhere else. Right? If you're the brand and you're talking about your products and services, you should have more information about that stuff on your website than anybody else. Unless you're in some sort of distributor realm where maybe the distributors need more info. But for the most part, that should still come for you. You're the brand. You own the stuff. It's yours. Leverage that and make the information interesting and make it easy to find. I like to talk about a little bit of history when I talk about these things. In 1999, there was a book that came out called The Clue Train Manifesto. The Clue Train Manifesto's main thesis was that markets are conversations and that the conversations are happening online. And if you think about what was going on in 1999, so I started 3 years before this doing this business. Alta Vista was still the number one search engine in 1999. Amazon was branched beyond music and books, but they were still definitely not the e-commerce powerhouse they are today. And Google was barely a public service. They had just kicked off their public-facing website. They were just barely beyond a doctoral thesis by two guys in California. But back then, even back then, the authors of this book saw what was coming. And I love thesis 17. Companies that assume that online markets are the same markets that used to watch their ads on television are kidding themselves. You think about that. If you look at a website, if it's just an extension of the billboard that I just saw on I-75 driving home, is that really useful to me? I've already seen your message. I've already seen your TV ad. Is that helping me to research a purchase? Probably not. Thesis number 64 is very similar. We will not settle for the 4-color brochure for websites, chock-a-block with eye candy but lacking substance. And still, in 1999, that was a big problem. It's still a big problem today because people haven't learned that lesson that websites need to be a little bit different. So yes, the branding and such, the color schemes, your logos and all that, yeah, that stuff should match for sure so people know it's you. but don't make your website just another extension of your other media channels, because it's going to fall flat, because the internet is different. It always has been. The thing to remember is that it's not about you. It's not about the brand. It's not about you, the company. It's about your customers. And the more you take a human-centered approach to designing your website and creating content on it, the more you're going to succeed in connecting with them and earning their attention. In the SEO world, we talk a lot about keyword research. And so when I talk to my fellow SEO professionals, I tell them that they need to start looking more at intent rather than just the keyword. Instead of focusing in on the terms that people use, understand what they're trying to accomplish when they type those terms in a search box or when they talk to their phone or whatever they're doing. You need to evolve beyond just, in the SEO world, we've often been accused of trying to spam the search engines. In some cases, that's very right to say, because a lot of us still do. But instead of just cramming a bunch of keywords trying to rank for the one that's the most searched, try to understand the purpose behind the search. Understand the intent of your customers at their different stages of their research journey, understanding the information that they're looking for, and then use the keywords to understand the language that they use in order to accomplish their goals. So, one of my jobs in the Army was a translator. When you're working as a translator, you're trying to take concepts in one set of words and put them into another set of words that someone else can understand. It's kind of the same thing with your customers. They use a certain language. So one of my favorite examples of this is headlight versus a headlamp. So if you talk to an engineer that builds cars, they will tell you the headlamp is the device that is attached to the front of your car, out of which the headlight emanates. But let me ask you this, how many regular people out there use the term headlamp? I can tell you, it ain't very many. Headlamp, in the consumer parlance, is one of those cool little lights that you strap to your head so you can walk around when you're out camping and you're out in the dark so you don't bash your head against a tree. That's a headlamp. And if you go on Google and type in headlamp or headlight, that's what you'll see. You'll see a lot of automotive stuff for headlight, and you'll see a lot of camping stuff for headlamp. So try to understand that. Go beyond just the terms that people use. And by all means, try to take your brand imposed terms and translate them into something that your customers will use. Put it on the website the way they talk. Don't put it on the website the way you talk. I remember having a discussion with one person who's, well, if I put that on the website, it doesn't make any sense to me. That's not the term that I would use. I said, right, the website's not, remember, it's about your customer. It's not about you. Took a little bit, but it finally got it. Yeah, yeah, that's right. We're trying to sell things. There you go. All right. So what are ways to know that your website is working? Well, there's a lot of things that you can look at to measure. I'm going to talk about some of the tools that I use. They may or may not help you, but I think they would be helpful. And you don't have to be a professional SEO with gobs of experience to be able to use most of them. Number one is Google Search Console. The thing that I like about Google Search Console is that it shows you how Google views your website and gives you data about how you're connecting with customers. So if you want to understand how your customers are connecting with you through your website, go to the report and look at the keywords that are bringing people to your page. They don't call them keywords, they call them queries in Google. But you can download those queries. You can get 16 months worth of data downloaded into a spreadsheet and have thousands, or probably around 1,000, because that's the limit that they give you. But it's a lot of data to churn through to understand the terms that Google thinks connect with your website. You can uncover a lot of really good information in there, and you can see some terms that, people are using this to look for us. That's not how we talk about themselves. Maybe we should use this term in our website a little bit more, and make that connection between the term that we like to use and the term that our customers like to use. Maybe that'll help us. The other thing I like to look at is clicks. A lot of people like to look at other data. I like clicks because I want to see who's coming to the website and how many numbers, right? Click is people coming to me. That's what I want to see. Impressions are great. That can be helpful. I use those. But for most people, clicks is really the thing to focus on. And Bing Webmaster Tools has a lot of the same data as Google. They don't give you quite as much, but Bing has a slightly different audience, so you can get a slightly different take on your website. I like to look at clicks. Impressions are helpful, but the other thing you can do is download that list of keywords. Most of them are going to match what you're seeing in Google, but you might be surprised by a few differences. If you're running a website and you're not doing analytics, you might as well shoot yourself in the foot. I mean, you're just not doing yourself any favors. And you don't need to pay for, Site Catalyst or anything fancy like that. The free version of Google Analytics does what 99% of businesses need. You can set up goals, you can set up e-commerce tracking, you can set up, value per customer. It's really, really easy. It's really, really easy. It's easy. But you don't have to go and pay a lot of money to get a lot of data because it's all right there. And get beyond the, oh my goodness, if I put this tracking tag on my site, Google will know everything about my website. Google knows everything about your website already. They spider the doggone thing. They know what's there. You're not hiding anything. You want it to be found. Don't be afraid. It's okay. But I find that Google Analytics is great. But the thing I like to do is go beyond just looking at the vanity statistics, right? Traffic and stuff are really good, and that's very helpful to know. But look at form submissions. Create goals to understand how you're getting leads from your website. If you're selling stuff online, you've got a gold mine of data because you can go look at your e-commerce data and see how many sales you have and how it's attributed. You can look at your paid search campaigns versus the unpaid search and see what's going on, right? Purchase intent score. I know some businesses use that. It's a little more complicated, but again, understanding the value that a website customer brings, a website visitor brings, especially if you can convert them into a customer. One of the things that I did for one brand is we worked with their finance department to figure out what the average lifetime value of a customer was, and then work that back into a formula that helped us understand the value of each website visitor. It wasn't an exact formula, but it helped us give a dollar amount to traffic. And different types of traffic had a different value based on the intent. It was actually quite interesting. That one we had to go a little bit beyond the Google Analytics free version, but we were still able to help. And if you're using a CMS to track your customers, oh man, you put the tracking on your website so you can understand that value that you're getting from there too, because you can see that entire value, the entire lifetime relationship in your CMS by connecting it with your website. And that's key. And I see a lot of people that don't do that. And that's, again, you're kind of missing out on a lot of really good data that will help you better connect with your customers. So again, go beyond vanity metrics, measure things that help you understand how the website is impacting the business, especially financially. If you can tie this to money somehow, you can make justifications for investing in websites really easy. Look, we're getting this much money. If we do this, we can get this much money. CEOs love that kind of thing. Help them out. I quoted Lee Odin earlier. If it can be measured, it can be optimized. That's the key. Look at the data and see what's going on and figure out how to make it work for you. And every business is going to be a little bit different. But again, if you can tie it back to money, that's always a great idea. If you're using Google Analytics, you need to change and install GA4 tags today. The current version of Google Analytics, which they call Universal, is going to be turned off on July 1st of 2023. You will no longer be able to get data in that version. So turn on your Google Analytics 4 now so that you can have a year's worth of data, because from what we understand from Google, they're not going to make the data that's in the current version backward or forwards compatible, or make Google 4 backwards compatible with that data. It's completely different. So you're going to want a year's worth of data, and so you better start now. That's worth your price of admission right there. I'll tell you, the headaches that you're going to get if you don't do this is going to be astronomical. All right, the last tool I want to talk about is called Microsoft Clarity. Does anybody optimizing a website use like Hotjar or any tool like that? Okay, this is a tool that's very much like Hotjar. It measures visits and it takes videos. Here, I'll blow this up. This is the website for the American Legion Post that I belong to. I manage their website for them. Gee, I can't imagine why. But I just put it on there to make it. But it makes nice videos. Helps you measure things like rage clicks. Right? They're clicking on stuff and it's not working. Right, lets you see how they're flowing through the website, what they click on or what they tap on the mobile version. This is a free tool. It's connected to Bing Webmaster Tools. So if you set your website up in Bing Webmaster Tools, you can put the tag on for this, and it'll just start flowing some data. And this is extremely valuable. It doesn't cost you anything. I mean, some of the tools out there that do this kind of stuff are astronomical. And this one's free, and the folks at Microsoft have said that they intend to keep it that way forever. So I got to listen to a presentation by one of the developers on the team that worked on this, and I was really impressed with the thoroughness and the helpfulness of this tool, considering it doesn't cost you anything, but allowing Microsoft to collect some data about your website. So let's wrap things up, shall we? So first thing is, website is the foundation of all your marketing efforts. Make it that way if it's not already. Give people content that they can't get elsewhere. Be unique, be helpful, be useful. Make sure the mobile version of your website is fast and user-friendly. Fast is important. User-friendly is important. And then measure things that show the impact on your business. Right? Don't just look at the vanity metrics. Pay attention to revenue and look at how your customers are doing. Well, thank you very much. I'm on LinkedIn. I am the only person in the world with my name. If you can't find me online, I'm sorry, I can't help you. But it's funny how many people try to tell me they couldn't find me when they Googled my name. It's optimized websites. How could you not find me? I know you can find me. You're live. All right, thanks so much.
Any questions for Elmer?
Let's go. Question. Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me explain that just a little bit deeper. So I don't use videos. Videos are very helpful and they can help with people's business and giving them the information that they want. What I'm talking about are the videos that autoplay at the top of the page, right, and make the thing and take up the entire screen and make it download. That's the type of video that I'm talking, especially if they have audio with them. Oh my goodness, that just exponentially increases the download.
I mean, yeah, all the metrics we have.
I agree with you to a certain extent, but people will read if you give them the info they want. Right? So we talk about attention span a lot. And I get that. But if you're answering someone's question and you're giving them a path to get what they want, they will read. Now, they're not going to read War and Peace, right? But you got to make it digestible and easy to understand. But yeah, I agree. Video is very powerful. I should have been more specific when I meant top of the page, taking up a lot of real estate, and doesn't do anything for the customer. It's not informative. It's basically a pre-roll about your brand.
Yeah, I think the point that Elmer made earlier, and I couldn't agree with it more. And look, as a writer and someone who develops video content, I want to make video content. It's what I want to make. But it's also understanding where in that customer journey your website's coming in. I think too many sites right now win the customer and then try to re-win them with the header versus connecting to that next part of the journey. People will read if it's well designed, if it's well laid out, if it doesn't waste their time. But sometimes even as web developers, creatives get put on a project and we think that has to be a standalone, single unit, tell the whole story, do all the work. And the reality is the ads have done the work to get them there. Google search has done the work to get them there. Their interest and awareness is peaked. Maybe you just have to click them through. So it's having a keen understanding of, hey, how are people using my site today? And then believing, all right, if that's going to be our customer for the future, let's make sure that those most used features are the most prominent. Yes, as storytellers, we're like, let's put our brand story tell up top. I agree when they want to go deeper and get into some areas. Hey, tell me about what's community life like with University of Phoenix, where we want to connect. Maybe video in that way is the best way to storytell, but that might be the deep push through, not the win-win-win. We're always trying to re-win the audience we already have, when in reality they're coming to us like a utility a lot of the time. Correct. I was chuckling on the font comments. Designers in the room, do we have graphic? What's the biggest font cost you've cost a client? I just heard a story yesterday about the Chevy account. It's like $100,000 mistake when you're like, hey, everyone needs this font. They just have to buy it on every computer you own. $150,000 because, again, this serif, we just think that's gonna convert, and it's like just lower yourself just a little bit into the process of we need conversions, right? So I was just, when you were talking about fonts, I was like, I've been there, and you're like staring at your computer saying, how's the client not see it? This is worth it. This font is worth it. But you see on the T, it's like a lower cross. It's like a lower cross. That's gonna convert. And they're like, can we just use Garamond? And you're like, sure, whatever. Yeah, fine, no problem. I love Garamond. What other questions do we have? I think it's such a relevant topic, especially because Google is feeding so much of it. That point you made, and might have got a miss. Google wants to have good results. They will not serve ads that don't lead to what they believe is a proper result. So I have a ton of clients who will say, yeah, buy searches for X. And then when they come over, push it to this site. And you're like, Google refuses to do it because at the end of the day, they want their product. They want the consumer to say, thank you, Google. I was promised something, I clicked on it, and it delivered to it.
Sometimes I try to remind folks that Google's customers.
Correct.
Right? And so if you can help make, you're not making Google happy, you're making their users happy. You're trying to convert them to be your customers too.
Yeah, and there's obviously a big shift happening in Google Dynamic Search this month in June, right, where all the titling will switch out and we'll go to dynamic text ads. Most of us are aware of things happening in that channel as well. So they're getting smarter and smarter every day.
And to your point, if you're selling X and you bring them and try to proceed when they get to the website, if Google doesn't outright deny that ad, you'll see a premium because you're calling store down on the page side.
Yep.
You see within the page. It's like, if you're one brand and you're trying to buy your competitors cheaper, you're buying your competitors brand. Unfortunately, because your website is not relevant to your brand, it's there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same concept. It's just different.
Yeah, I think one place as brands sometimes we have to think, and as creatives we have to think a little differently, is not just saying, especially for the overall brand, who is the target audience, but who is the target audience of this user platform. And I'll give you two really good examples. Sometimes we take the general brand audience and we say, that must be who we're trying to grab on Instagram or Twitter. The great brands are the ones who are saying, I know exactly who my audience is on each platform. And sometimes that might be a subset audience to my primary audience. I'll give you a great example if no one follows the Arby's Instagram account. Arby's does a great job of saying, hey, on TV, we have the meats and we are talking to a male audience who wants to eat that meat. We're going to go all, I was blown away. I saw Arby's has a Wagyu cheeseburger now. They actually sell cheeseburgers, which I thought their deal was roast beef, but they really moved their position to just meat in general. But if you go on their Instagram account, they are going hardcore after gamers. So every piece of content they had for a long time was very gamer, anime, subcategory, and it was all crafted as well. So they were using cardboard from their actual food boxes to craft different pieces of creative content, especially an Arby's sauce to draw with, but specifically at the gamer, a different audience than they saw on TV, because they realized I could be putting all this message in Instagram and getting no engagement. I could be taking this Instagram audience and putting it brand-wise and getting no engagement. Another one that I just love, especially in social, about knowing audience is the University of Cincinnati Children's Hospital has an Instagram account just for their radiology oncology screening team. So it is a team who only looks at cancer screenings, in the radiology department at University of Cincinnati, which is a top 4 children's hospital in the nation. And you think to yourself, who would follow this account? And yet when you go to it, what they are is they're unashamedly who they are. They put up niche scans concerning pediatric oncology, and then they talk about them with the nerdery that they have. They are just passionately nerdy about oncology screenings. And so when you bring that passion forward in that category, not trying to meet the masses, but saying our audience is an educated person who nerds out on the same things and reads the same journals as we read and loves the same topics, you can create a super engaged community around it. Just follow the TSA. The TSA is one of the best Instagram accounts on the planet, and it's about things they find while searching you at the airport. And you would think, why would I follow the TSA? I hate the TSA. They slow down my flights, and yet their account is fascinating and witty and interesting because they know their audience. Any other questions for Elmer before we give him one last round of applause and we get on with our day?